Hope you are all well. Still, now we have to complete the lessons because your examination is uh, knocking at the door. We do not know when it will take place. Still, we have to prepare ourselves. See, now, I left the class with in the middle of the topic, the French influence. Uh, and I told you that Norman conquest took place in 1066, and after that, England went under the rule of the Norman rulers. That means the French rulers, and England again had to be ruled by the French rulers, and all the rules and regulations of French government were imposed in England, and up to 1362. That means this is the year when English Parliament started functioning in English. That is the date, and up to that, French became the official language of England, and because of that, the words of all categories, and that means I'm saying that different social or academic or administrative phase, administrative, what am I saying that? Administrative aspects. Most of the words were borrowed from French, replacing the Old English words. And if we see that we find that words relating to government, only king and queen are English, but other words, that means crown, state, government, council, parliament, council, authority, etc., all these are French words. Similarly, the feudalism, because feudalism system was imposed in England by the French rulers, and that's why the words like feudal, peer, duke, duchess, marquess, count, countess, baron, all these words are actually related to feudalism, and these words are from French. Again, the war, that means the war, that means you know that they were basically also the words relating to war are also from French. The war itself is French. Peace, mail, army, armor, siege, ACIG, that's what is that. Officer, officer is actually war-related word. It is not, you cannot say that it's basically other kind of word. But now we are using it in different levels as officers. Navy, admiral, and all these words are French words, and these are all related to war. Similarly, the judgment, that means court system. Actually, English court system was entirely went under the French system, and judge, justice, jury, plaintiff, attorney, crime, accuse, all these words are basically related to court system or legal system, and all these words are French words. But you have to remember the law and bylaw, these are English words, originally English words. And again, another point is that as the upper class means actually French rulers, they control the religious system as well as the clergy, again the French clergy, and because of that, the related words related to religion and also the ethical life are French words. Suppose the Trinity, saint, abbey, friar, clergy, pray, sermon, and then the words like that, charity, virtue, vice, obedience, mercy, all these words are basically, even cruelty, all these words are basically French words, and these are borrowed under the category called religious and ethical life. And then another point is that the relationship between the master and the servant. That means the French who are the masters and the English people who has become the servant. And the words relating to that one actually, look at the point is that master, mistress, sir, madam, servant, poverty, riches, rent, all these words are basically French words borrowed by the English community, English people. Even very interestingly, the food words. Uh, Food words. Look at the point is that food words, when they are food words, means I'm saying that uh, when uh, when the living animal, they are living animals are English, but when they are served in a dish, that means they become the food. At the time they become French. Suppose cow and is English, but beef is French. Similarly, goat and mutton, uh, pig and pork, and this way then you will find the words relating to that one. Again, the cooking systems like fry, toast, roast, uh, pastry, soup, sausage, jelly, dinner, or supper. All these words are French words. But very interestingly, breakfast is English. The word breakfast is English. They start with the English, and they start their fooding by using the word breakfast. That means by taking breakfast, but that is English. But other words, dinner, supper, lunch, these are all French words. Very interestingly, fashion words. That means, look at the point is that fashion words means costume, garments, dress, puff, poof, P-O-U-F-F-E. This word's pronunciation is poof. These words are French words, and because the fashion, basically you find that most of the fashion things come from fashion related things come from French. And the world of art is also occupied by the French, and that's why at the time also during the rule of French rulers, they imposed their own system of art, and this art itself is French art, beauty, color, pillar, uh, column, vault, porch, then arc. These words are basically painting. It is a painter, or mason, the furniture. All these words are French words relating to art. And even the interjections, sometimes alas, adieu, very, certes, sure, S-U-R-E, sure. So you pronounce it as sure, this is sure. All these words are basically interjection words, and these are also from French. First part we have discussed that the influence of French language on the English language, and in terms of vocabulary we discussed. But now we'll discuss other parts in other section, which is very important. That means after the incorporation against the borrowing of the French words in English, not only they borrowed the French words only, they also borrowed suffixes and prefixes, which are called affixes. And also, very interestingly, uh, English words also were also attached. It means English words also underwent changes by the with the help of the French affixes. Very interestingly, suppose English suffixes like dom, less, ness, lee, full, less, sheep. Sheep means, suppose I'm saying dom, able. All these are basically English suffixes which are attached to the French origin words, French words. Just like art plus full, F-U-L, full, become artful. Similarly, beauty is French word, and beauty plus full, beautiful. Martyr is a French word, and martyrdom. And that way, agree plus able, agreeable. Companion plus sheep. Companion is a French word, and companionship. And again, in a similar way, the French suffixes are age, age, double e, ment, ment, esk, s, and n prefix, actually. N is a prefix. Enlarge, enhance in this way. And demi is demigod. Demigod is again that all these are French suffixes and prefixes. and these are attached with the English words also. For example, God, God plus goddess, EWS, I told you that one. Then similarly, enlighten, that means again enlightenment, mileage, MILE, mile, and AGE, mileage. Similarly, hindrance, we find murderous, justify. These are all the words we find that one. And here we find these are called basically when you borrow, when you find that one a very bigger word. Bigger word means I'm saying that word, root word, and the suffix and prefix. And if you look at the sources of the source, or you can say that etymologically, if you look at those, and you find that one part of the word is from one language, and other part is from other language. Suppose if you look at the word like artful, art is French and full is English, and that way artful has been created. And this is an example of hybridism. It's called hybrid word, and this process is called hybridism. And you have to prepare a note on hybridism due to the influence of French and other also in other influences also. We'll discuss later on. But this point is very important part of that. Means, for example, very often it is said in the question paper, trusteeship. Trust is a Scandinavian word. Double E is basically French suffix, and sheep is English. And then the trusteeship is the word of an example of hybridism. And another very important part is that we find that due to the huge number of words, the influx of French words into English language, we find that the two words, synonymous words, basically use or live, you can say that, but they survive in English language side by side. For example, heart and cottage. Heart is English, or cottage is French. Both exist in English language, and but very interestingly that in this sort of pair words, you will find, I will give the list, but very important thing is that English word is used for the informal use, for informal situation, or you can informal usage, but the French word is used in a formal situation. For example, heart, you cannot use the heart industry, but cottage industry. Cottage industry means with the কুটির শিল্প এটা হলো একটা basically অফিসিয়াল ওয়ার্ড, অফিসিয়াল ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। সেই জন্য এখানে কিন্তু তুমি এটাকে তুমি হার্ট ইন্ডাস্ট্রি বলতে পারো না, এটাকে বলতে পারো কটেজ ইন্ডাস্ট্রি। এই ধরনের ওয়ার্ডস আছে, যেমন ফর এক্সাম্পল ফোক অ্যান্ড পিপল। ফোক ইজ ইংলিশ, পিপল ইজ ফ্রেঞ্চ। And then help and aid. Help, first aid box is not fast help box. Help is English, aid is French. Similarly, other examples are there. Lonely and solitary. Lonely, solitary. Begin commence. You can normally you find that in the official languages there that examination will commence, not examination will begin. Begin is English, and commence is French. Similarly, favorite is English, and darling is French. And this very interestingly, this is also for said in the exam. So what is the philological importance of the existence of the pair words like folk and people? You have to write an answer. That means folk and people both both are used, both have the same meaning, but they are used in different contexts, because this is a phenomenon. This is we find that folk is originally English word, and people is French word. Folk is used in informal situation, and people is used in formal situation or formal setting. And this is the part of that. Means from this discussion, what we find that means one is a very important thing is that hybridism and existence of the pair words. One belongs to English, and other belongs to French. This is a very phenomenon is there, and at the same time hybridism, you have to remember, prepare that one, note on that one. For example, you find that English suffix, French word, French suffix, English word. That way you have to prepare a note on that one, and you find that one in your book also. So with that, let me complete the French influence. And if you have a book, or you can find the note, the message, write a note on the importance of the French influence or French influence as such. We will, I will answer your questions also if you need. But very interestingly, prepare this one, very important, because it is is one of the major chapters of one of the major chapters of your syllabus. Thank you. Have patience and try to understand, and try to feel free to gather the knowledge on French influence. Prepare the note on that. Thank you.